I bought some cheap ass fucking. They're like the Oakleys, and they didn't have a rating, so I went in my shed. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna shoot these things. If they break, I know better. The frame shattered. The ones that were good, the frame shattered. It's like, okay. Glad I didn't wear those on field. My luck, I'm getting shot in the face with my safety glasses from work, and I'm fine. But those motherfuckers.
So, I got the link to the podcast. If you wouldn't mind linking it to the Facebook chat,
okay, sure.
Maybe posting it on the page.
All right.
I'm not an admin, so.
Yeah. Ben's all, hey, check these out. These are cool. That's the extent of your shit.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I think the air thingy is finally donezo in this chair.
Oh, my friends, hello, right.
Man, dude, everything that's been going on and shit, I've been carrying my fucking, my full size Glock.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? I think I'm more comfortable with 16 rounds in my gun instead of fucking 7.
Yeah. Can't be too careful. So you're gonna try to make up for Joe's odd comments?
The what?
You're gonna try to make up for Joe's odd comments?
When you talk about fucking atheism or something? I don't know. Let's see here.
How you doing with that mic, Ben?
Yeah.
I guess it's the same mic you've been using, just a different angle.
He just has to cup that one to his face. He's holding it like this. He's all, mind the stepchildren, mind the stepchildren.
Alright, I guess we're good to go. So those are the main topics for the evening.
Sweet! Oh, hey, Ben, can you pass me those beers so I can actually open and stuff? Stab! Thank you. It's like, I said stack, goddammit.
We need an MP5 mag.
Oh my god. Did you see what fucking Willie can do with an MP5 mag?
Yeah, no, he told me about that, about the big pop sound.
Dude,
God.
the pop was like
They
the
were-
fucking loudest pop I'd ever heard.
They were like Miller Lights, and it was just like
He was just like, poof! Like, it was like spraying out like fucking champagne
hit the
bottles. dude.
freaking the top of the canopy, come down and smack Joe in the face.
Like, seriously, we should have him on the show just to open our beer bottles and then send him away. But, alright.
Don't smell it. Don't smell it.
Well, hello, and thank you for listening to episode number 142
Dang.
of the Gorilla Airsoft Radio Podcast. Tonight's hosts include Jesse,
Hello.
Ben,
How's it going?
myself, Beast.
Good, man.
No Joe tonight. Apparently had another obligation, so...
It's his wife's birthday.
is it?
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It's like, unfortunately, his wife was fucking born today.
So, just, we're holding down the fort tonight. Voicemail number if you would like to get a hold of the show, 661-846-2222.
2222.
Facebook / Gorilla Airsoft Radio. Email GorillaAirsoftRadio@gmail.com. And Instagram, gorilla.airsoft. So, our agenda for the evening. As usual, we will have our drink of the evening.
Yes.
In the news, Airsoft and OEM parts. GMR gets banned again. And our main topic, and this is a long one, what is the minimum amount of gear you would recommend to a first-timer renting a gun at an Airsoft game? So, let's get started. I'm going to get my drink of the evening going right now.
Get it on.
And this evening, I have the New Belgium Fat Tire Ale.
And it's fat with a PHAT.
Yes.
There we go.
Delicious.
Delicious.
Yeah.
I needed that after the news I got about how expensive my son's dental bill is going to be coming up. Holy shit. Oh my god.
Oh, man.
Remortgage the fucking house for that one.
No, I'm gonna have to open a second fucking airsoft field. You got to make him work for free for the next fucking like 2 months.
Something like that, yeah.
All right.
More like 7 years.
Yeah.
I have best damn cherry cola. This is pretty cool. Dang. Oh, yeah, it's not actually stuck to the magnet. Yeah. What are you talking about?
All right.
Somebody used the ball opener to open his.
And it's just gonna stab the fucking can with his
I've got
retard
my,
strength.
Patriotic Bud Light, blue with stars.
Blue with stars.
Pretty sweet.
Mmm.
Sounds delicious.
All right, so we're going to get right into our news. Don't really have any. I haven't checked the voicemails lately, but I usually get a pop-up on my Skype account that says we've had something. I haven't heard anything in a while, so
What
if
the
you
fuck, guys?
If you guys want to participate in the show, I mean, I know there's a lot of regulars that are involved in the chat, and if you guys want to get in the chat, just go to our Facebook/GorillaAirsoft Radio and just say, hey, let me in the chat, and we'll get that figured out. But we haven't had a lot of participation in the voicemail for a while, so you know the number, 661-846-2222. Leave a message, and we'll play it on the show.
Yeah, I mean, we play it on the show, and then we make fun of you.
Yeah.
We fucking talk about your voice, we talk about your content, we talk about how gay you are, or whatever. But yeah, dude, just
Yeah.
call. I mean, yeah, you know, maybe that's why some people don't fucking do the
We bash on them
voice.
too much? Is that it?
You know what though? If you listen to this show, you need to have a thick skin and be ready to take a bashing.
But we love our fans.
Yeah, take a bashing right in your bash spot.
All 4 of them.
Yeah.
All right, so in the news, this is something we were kind of scrambling at the last minute to get some news items, and it actually came up with this one, and I find this one to be a pretty good one as a shop owner, because we do a lot of repair service, and sometimes finding parts for certain guns can be pretty tricky, and so we actually found this over at Popular Airsoft. And it is originally from the Gun Gamers blog via Popular Airsoft, and the name of the article is Airsoft Needs More OEM Parts Support. So when I read some of these long-ass articles, these aren't, I don't read them completely, I just kind of highlight a few items. I do leave some parts out, I don't really add anything, so just to let the original authors of the article know, you know, I'm not reading every single thing. So you guys want to go check out the full article, you can go to Popular Airsoft or check out the Gun Gamers blog. And I will start like this. Your gun is down or experiencing some kind of issue. Obviously, you want to fix this. So you open it up and figure out that some part or combination of parts has failed. So you buy a replacement part, right? Hold on now, this is Airsoft we're talking about. What part fits? What specifications is your gun built to? Can you find the original part? This is where we come to one of my biggest pet peeves in the airsoft industry, the overall lack of adequate OEM parts support. I'm sure you're saying, there's parts all over the place. There's lots of parts at dealers, but notice how few of these parts from the same manufacturers that make the gun you're looking for are going to be available for your gun to repair. That's because the airsoft industry has traditionally leaned incredibly hard on third-party aftermarket parts manufacturers for repair parts. Thus, dealers are flush with all manner of upgrade parts, but specifications and tolerance are rarely exactly the same between these manufacturers. While most AEGs and mini pistols on the market are clones of the Tokyo Marui system, there's so much variance within the various interpretations of that system that it's often impossible to be sure what parts on the aftermarket will fit. Thankfully, and I'm skipping a whole big paragraph here, thankfully there are some companies recognizing the fact that they're leaving money on the table by not offering their parts through their website and or their dealers. 3 of the big ones that the Gun Gamers crew has lots of experience with are Crytek and WeTech. Now, personally, I'm going to disagree with the WeTech part a little bit, and to the point where I personally don't even stock a lot of WeTech, even though as popular as they are. I personally find one of these companies the most difficult to find aftermarket parts for. There are actually OEM parts for. There are many of your standard parts that are Tokyo so-called, and this is me speaking. I'm not reading the article now. So-called Tokyo Marui compatible. Those kind of parts are there, but there's a lot of guns that are not, like say your standard 1911, your standard high kappas. Some of their different guns, like say the Browning high powers, like say the Lugers. Those guns, there are really not a standard Tokyo Marui compatibility, and parts for those guns are extremely difficult to get. When they first came out with the gas blowback M14s, I had a couple of customers that jumped on those when they first came out, and and although there are plenty of parts listed as available, one or two tiny little parts were simply non-existent.
They're just overlooked as parts that would be needing replacement?
Exactly. And so because of that, I had a couple of customers that were really, really disappointed with those guns for that reason. But let me go ahead and go on here. He also said, Elite Force, also another one, recognized the need for rebuild kits for the 1911 series, and you can now find OEM parts for several of their gas blowback pistols at their dealers. In fact, I talked to Elite Force about that at SHOT Show, and Vince mentioned that the rebuild kits have been selling well, and they would probably be expanding their parts offering as a result. So, and they have, and they are one of the companies that actually is offering parts rebuild kits, not just for their most popular guns, but also for their most popular magazines. Now, maybe the next step in that would be, even those parts kits. I think the guys at Elite Force have probably gone through and figured out which are the most parts that they end up having to replace, but there are still certain parts that need to be replaced over and over again, and they only include one of that particular part.
So you have to buy the whole fucking parts
kit. So you got to buy the whole parts kit to get that one piece. Now, of course, we can probably get a lot of those. The dealers probably can get some of those parts individually, but the prices are pretty extravagant. So you're almost better off buying the parts kit. But if certain parts that are very difficult parts to obtain, or I'm sorry, let me rephrase that, certain parts that do need to be replaced fairly often, maybe having a couple of those parts in the parts kits would be a nice addition. The guys at Elite Force are awesome. They are one of the companies that really does stand behind their product and do a good job at offering these extra parts. But I think there's still a little bit they can improve upon. And so let me go back to the article. So take that as a lesson, manufacturers and distributors. Everyone wins when you support your products after purchase. The airsoft market is behind in terms of parts support compared to many industries, and the variance in specifications makes navigating the aftermarket for replacement parts a minefield. So step up your OEM parts game up to better serve your customers and start making more money after the initial point of sale at the same time. And customers, if you need OEM parts, let the manufacturers know and support the companies that support your purchase. In other words, deal with those companies who are willing to go the extra mile to supply those replacement parts. So I love this article because it's something I deal with as a shop all the time, trying to find parts for certain guns. I can't tell you how many times we've had a particular repair in the shop far longer than it needs to be because we're waiting on one particular part that isn't available here in the States. It seems like they're all available, you know, if you order them off of some of the Hong Kong sites, but man, for a $2 part, to pay for shipping to get it over from Hong Kong can be kind of pricey sometimes. So that's also another reason why I, as a retailer, am very picky about the stuff we sell. I want to make sure that we sell stuff that is backed up by the manufacturers or at least by the distributors. And for us here in the States, when we have a particular distributor that sells a particular line, I tend to only do business with those who do, supply those parts. And we're not talking about aftermarket. A lot of people sell the most popular aftermarket parts, but it's the factory OEM parts that are sometimes hard to come by.
we talked about this before we even recorded the podcast, because when you brought up that article, the first thing I thought was, oh shit, my KWA Mark IV.
Mm-hmm.
I brought the my fucking gun's been broken for a while. What happened was I had it in a drop leg holster. It was a cheapier drop leg holster, but I had it. It worked, and so what ended up happening was during an op, part of the holster ripped, and so my gun fell out, and I thought I lost it. Well, somebody ended up finding my gun, but not before like they fucking stepped on it or something. Like apparently somebody fucking just rung my gun's bell, and so it was broken.
Kicked it
Like
across
near
the concrete.
Yeah, dude, it was pretty terrible. So the safety switch and like the because the Mark IV is like a 1911 type, and so pretty much everything that was along the handle, all the little pieces had broken off, and so I tried to fix it myself because I'm like, oh well, I know what pieces it is, and so I ordered some of the little replacement parts, but there seemed to be like one or two small parts that I overlooked that I couldn't tell were gone.
Little tiny nothing things like little pins and the firing pin itself was actually missing.
And so I'm like, all right, well, I can't fix this because I don't know exactly what other part I needed. I tried to find like a manual that kind of had, like a breakdown of, like here's the gun, here's a line with all the parts that you got to find, so I could try to figure it out, but I couldn't find that.
And sometimes that's difficult too, just trying to find an exploded diagram of parts for a gun. Now, a lot of them are out there, but they're not out there 100%. There's a lot of, especially with pistols, especially with handguns, that's the one area that it's most difficult finding certain parts for, because
Glock variants.
Glock variants too, maybe because of their limited availability here in the States. Maybe that's. But yeah, like for instance, some of the full auto Glocks, there's a couple of parts with that full auto mechanism that are really, really difficult to come by here in the States, which makes them hard. Certain things like that break all the time.
Yeah.
Like the air nozzle, not a problem. You can find stuff like that. The main valve, the rocket valve, some of the seals, no problems. Some of the springs, no problem. But like, there's a little rod that attaches to the selector on like any of the full auto Glocks. Finding that little piece is it's almost impossible here in the States. And why, I don't know. Maybe it's because there are no legit Glock dealers in the States. That's part of the reason. That's an example. That's an example of some of the issues we come across.
And so the pistol I ended up bringing into the shop so that it could get repaired, or so I could have an actual tech take a look at it, because I'm a tech by no means. So when it got looked at, we realized there's this little pin that's basically missing, and that was like one other part that I hadn't ordered, and so my gun couldn't get repaired because of this little pin that was missing. And I mean, my gun's been here for probably like 2 or 3 months, and it's mainly because Jerry, Beast was saying that the pin is just like it was on back order. Like
Forever.
It took forever.
Yeah. We finally did get it. They finally got some available, so your 1911 should be up and going soon, but it took forever to get that. And that's just an example. I mean, and I normally like dealing with companies like KWA, because they are one of the companies that on their website they do have a pro shop where they sell parts for their guns, especially the parts that are unique to their guns. However, finding one or two pieces out of stock can eliminate the ability to get a gun fixed, and that's the issue we're dealing with.
Yeah. So I'm just happy my gun's fixed now. But yeah, that was when he told me about that article, I was like, oh fuck, yep, I got something to say about that. I mean, and the thing is too is, the point I brought up is that maybe some of these companies are even doing this on purpose because, obviously the company doesn't. I mean, just like a fucking car manufacturer. I mean, obviously cars are getting more reliable, but at one point, it's kind of like, okay, a car might last like 5 years, and then you have to fucking replace the car. Most people were like, oh shit, the car has 100,000 miles, need to get another car, and so to me it seems like that might even be kind of thing where they're almost planning for their
planned obsolescence.
Yeah, planned obsolescence, where they're basically saying, okay, it's going to last 3 years.
Any American car manufactured from 1975 until about 1995.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything nowadays is not built to last. They want you to buy.
Right, and so, I mean, obviously the manufacturer is not going to continue to make money if you fucking hold on to a gun for 3, 4, 3 or 4 years and you're not buying the new pistol that took them a lot of time to, upgrade or redesign or do any of that stuff. I mean, all that shit costs money, and so obviously they're not making money if they're not selling the new product because you're still using the old product because they made it too well. And so, if they're not making those little tiny replacement parts that, nobody can seem to find, then obviously you're either going to go with, the next model up, or you're going to buy that new gun because, hey, it lasted you 2 or 3 years, you like the brand, so you go with them again, or, you go with, you might go with something else, but either way, it's helping the industry continue to, bump their bottom line by, constantly buying new airsoft equipment because you can't repair them and you can't replace certain stuff, and so, with planned obsolescence and, the lack of replacement parts, maybe it's all part of the grand scheme of things. Obviously, you don't want to make them too reliable because then they'll fucking basically engineer themselves out of business.
Well, and the sad thing about that too is you can go to any of the, I'm not using Airsoft mega stores specifically, but mega stores in the Airsoft economy. You can go to their websites and they have tons and tons and tons of parts listed. Now, either half of those parts are either out of stock or they have a ton of parts available, but it's just those one weird little part that you need. That's the part that's always gone. It's always out of stock. They have tons of parts, but they don't always have tons of the right parts.
Right.
Especially with for me was the with the Glock licensing and everything, and not nobody selling their parts for their series of Glock, and then not being able to find a barrel after parts of the outer barrel snaps off.
Well, shit, that's probably just because Glock obviously is suing anybody that fucking made anything with their Glock trades, and so why is any place gonna fucking, have any sort of OEM part or support for a gun that, shouldn't be on the market because Glock's suing the pants off everybody? So, why even bother with that? So, I mean, yeah, if you had the gun, you're lucky because, cool, you have a gun that looks super legit with the trades, but at the same time, you can't even so much as try to fucking sell your gun used on a place like eBay because the minute you fucking put up that gun and say, hey, it has Glock trades, all of a sudden you're getting a notification from fucking eBay saying that, you're violating, trademark rights with Glock, and you're getting an email from Glock telling you to fucking send your gun in to them so they can destroy it.
Cease and desist.
Yeah. So I mean, you can't even fucking sell a gun used on half of these, platforms secondhand because of the fact that it has Glock trades and stuff. So I mean, trying to get a replacement part or any sort of support out of that's a fucking pipe dream to me.
That's why it's called a G series.
Right.
G series, yeah. So my advice and my recommendation to players, especially players that aren't real techie, that don't do a lot of their own tech work, support those companies who do supply factory replacement parts for their guns, because you're going to have a much easier time in the long run getting those things fixed. And also companies that have great warranty service. I hate to say it, but I think a lot of these manufacturers, a lot of these distributors, especially as a retail store, I think I found instances where the part was not available. They did not stock a particular part, but they do have large boneyards of broken guns that they can pull parts off of. Just cross your fingers that the part you're looking for isn't the same part that they've pulled off of 4 or 5 different guns, because it keeps going down. So.
Well, shit, man, and finding a good boneyard sometimes on some of these, from some of these larger distributors. You get a fucking pretty nice gun. Boneyard, you don't know whether you're getting a fucking semi-functional gun, a completely functional gun, or a gun that's completely fucking broke. Sometimes you can actually get a working gun that was just on the wall that never got bought, and they basically sold. But some of these good boneyards, man, they fucking go up, dude, and they sell out fucking fast. Everybody's scooping them up. They go for a third of the price, and a lot of times, you can just fucking buy them and just for the body alone, you get a good like a 4, sometimes a 416 might go up. How many people are trying to get that fucking 416 body, whether it's broken or not,
Yeah.
So sometimes, you might be trying to get a fucking part, for this specific little tiny fucking part that you need to repair your gun, but you got fucking dick fingers, fucking down the block from you that wants to fucking buy that gun and sell it for $200 because he's an enterprising little shit. You know.
If it's a 416, by the way, it's probably a broken tappet plate.
Yeah, no shit, dude. That's what happened to my fucking 416.
I just glad for parts that are compatible, even though they're not from the same company. I've kept the one M4 going because of that.
Well, that's true. I mean, certain guns, again, and that's where we're talking about Tokyo Marui-based guns or Tokyo Marui-based designs or based gearboxes. Most of the time, you can get those parts and they're 100% compatible. The only other problem is that sometimes parts that are supposedly what we would call TM compatible, sometimes they're not. You put them in the gearbox, they look exactly like the same part you pulled out, but they don't fit, or they don't function the same way. So, because the dimensions are slightly different, just a tiny hair, just like bodies, like M4 magwells.
Oh, right.
How many guns claim to be Tokyo Marui compatible with their magwells, yet well, I mean, and M4s are probably better than other like AKs or some other guns as far as their pickiness with mags. But how many M4 mags have you tried in a particular M4 that just don't fit or don't work very well? That's just a small example. If the mag doesn't fit, imagine how precise some of those internal parts have to be to function properly.
Oh yeah.
You know, and if they're fucking, they say they're TM compatible, you know, but somehow they don't fit like a TM compatible part should, you almost want to say, hey, you're not fucking TM compatible, call yourself TM inspired. Yeah, we were inspired.
I like that.
That's a thought.
You've like coined a term there. I think that may catch on.
Yeah, it's a team inspired part. May or may not work. They made it because they thought it was cool.
All right. So anything else before we move on?
Negative.
All right. Now, see, I didn't even catch this next piece of news because I rely on Thumpy for almost probably about 95% of all my airsoft news, and he hasn't been updating the last couple of days. Hopefully everything's going okay, Thumpy. And I know Thumpy doesn't deal with a lot of the controversial bullshit in our industry, so he probably wouldn't have even covered the story anyways. But GMR gets banned again. I know I did listen to some of the details, but I know Jesse had the details on the story before me, so I'm going to let you go ahead and go with it, and then we'll move on from there.
Well, I think it was yesterday. I was actually talking with one of our listeners that was actually messaging our Facebook page, and we were going back and forth, and then at some point later on I checked one of my messages and I saw that he was like, hey, did you see that thing from Centurion Airsoft? And immediately I'm like, oh god, what did Bubba post now? I'm like, oh shit. So I didn't even fucking hear him out to see what it was he was talking about, because initially I said, well, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna go to the fucking Centurion page because it's got to be there. And so sure as shit, I look it up, and Centurion had posted a video that was basically talking about some of the issues that came about during this last game that they had with another organizer. I forget the name. Do you remember?
IMSATO?
IMSATO, yeah.
IMSATO, yeah.
And so they...
Which is an East Coast game producer. I've heard of them before. I've never obviously played at any of their events, but I have heard of them.
Okay, so they were having a joint game where I think it was one of them was green. I think the IMSATO was green and tan was Centurion.
This was a game where they literally had they combined game producers, where one game producer had one team and the other game producer had another team, and they literally worked an op together. And I think this probably a lot of this came from everybody's support for Bubba and what he's been going through with Centurion and some of the difficulties he's had. There's a lot of people, including other game producers, stepping up and trying to help him out. So this sounded like a pretty cool situation. Two game producers, as far as I know, and as far as what they mentioned, one of the first times I've ever seen anything like that happen.
Well, they claimed it was the first time.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't think I've heard of such a thing.
You know what? And they're fucking onto something. I want to see a game in Victorville, LC versus MSW.
I think the whole place might end up getting burned to the ground before the fucking end of that shit.
Oh my god, that'd be fucking amazing. obviously we'd have to like, have John Lou sack up and throw on some fucking. If he had to throw on some Vietnam fucking garb or whatever, tell him it's a goddamn what the fuck?
15 or something.
Yeah, we gotta tell him it's a fucking Hawkbow game or whatever to get him to play. But that would be cool. So, anyways, back on topic. So, I look at the video and basically it's explaining some of the shit that was going on at the op, and that basically the guys from GMR were being a bunch of fucking douchebags. They weren't following rules. They were using shit that wasn't approved.
They have a certain history, and I'll give them credit. They're hardcore airsoft or milsim, whatever you want to say. These guys. They don't take a lot of crap, but they're into what I would almost call extreme hardcore milsim. Superb physical fitness, training, top-notch gear, whatever you want to call it. But they've also have a reputation for not necessarily going by the rules of an event producer
and just generally being dickbags,
going outside the rules, and the thing that really got them in the news was disrespecting Colonel McKnight at the one Lion Claws game that I didn't go to over the last 7 years. I think it's the one I was there at Victorville. And so, yeah, they have kind of a reputation. They were technically banned from a lot of the different airsoft producers. And I'm sure we talked about it on our podcast.
Yeah, we did.
But I again, not knowing any of those people, not really knowing a lot of inside information about those guys, I was kind of under the impression that they had maybe reformed and tried to turn things around a little bit. But from the sounds of what I heard, it didn't really sound like they'd really changed much at all. They're still kind of douchebaggy.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that were brought up were that they were like using tag rounds and shit like that wasn't approved. That they were actually there was I want to say there was somebody that had actually been from comments, people that were talking on the video that I guess or commenting on the video that had gone to the game where they claimed that somebody from GMR had actually hit them directly with a tag round in the chest. And, there were other people, that were saying that, technicals and stuff like that were off limits. And, obviously they spliced the audio from, a GMR podcast where they're actually talking about hosing people in the face that were in vehicles.
The video is heavily edited, and you can tell where the edits are, so... my recommendation would be to go to the Centurion Milsim Facebook page and check it out. But they posted both versions. They posted both the edited and the unedited version. And the edited is just basically snippets, a shortened snippet of all the negative comments. And obviously, if you want to know the full context, listen to the whole show. And we'll I haven't got it there yet, but we'll get that a link to that posted on our Facebook page as well.
Which from what they posted, the little bit that they did post was maybe 8 or 9 minute video with 7 minutes of it being different snippets from the podcast that GMR posted. I mean, a lot of it
and it's all audio. I mean, it's a YouTube video, but there's no pictures. It's all audio from their podcast. Well, I didn't even know that they did a podcast.
Neither did I. And so basically the way it's a video is it's not just a black screen and it's just their podcast. I mean, you're listening to the GMR podcast snippets, and they're basically Centurions added text, putting into context or arguments against whatever the shit that's being said in the audio. And so a lot of the shit they were talking about was tough guy talk. I fucking wish somebody would have told me something, or these fucking tough guys are talking shit, and I wish they would have come up to me, and these guys are a bunch of pussies, and they're a bunch of doughy, fat, out of shape, whatevers, and
that's us.
And
I'll punch you right in the face, you skinny fucker.
Yeah, and I guess there were some points where they'd used either tags or something like that they weren't supposed to have used, and somebody called them out on it. But then, they're acting like, yeah, it was us, we're right here, but then, in some of the, in some of the comments that were attached to the video, people were like, funny that, they were saying like, oh, we're right here, and they're like, but when Bubba was jumping off the vehicle to see who it was, these guys fucking ninja vanished. So they're talking shit like, oh, they were gonna do something, or, they were being that defiant toward, the people that were like running the fucking game, but, they were just talking shit on the podcast, but doing something completely fucking different when they were actually out on the field. And, apparently, a lot of times when they were shooting people or doing stuff, they were claiming that a lot of the people that they were playing with were, bitching and complaining and just generally being little bitches and pussies, using their words. And, so what was brought up is that, a lot of these people that, were calling them out were ex-military guys, ex-special forces dudes, LE dudes, guys that worked for, or like had contacts that were like local LE, that knew people from ATF, that knew that some of this shit, like, they shouldn't be using, that's probably not approved for, that field, but, these guys...
Because they're professionals and they follow the rules.
Right, yeah. Well, and, I guess a lot of the rules said that, like, you couldn't do shit like, rappelling, and, you couldn't do any of this other fucking high-speed, like, super operator wannabe shit.
Half this shit's not even covered in their
insurance policies.
Insurance policies, yeah.
Yeah, and so that was the point that was brought up is.
And these are businesses. They do this to make money, but they also have insurance, and the insurance puts limitations on what can be done and what can't be done, and that's why a lot of these rules are in place.
Well, and that's what was pointed out in the video, and that audio part came up is that oh yeah, fuck us, we got to have. Insurance that says, what can and can't be done. Obviously, you got to have insurance for these fucking games. But, these guys were going ahead and doing half of this shit anyways, because obviously they have to have, like, those badass operator videos that they can upload so that, everybody can, jerk off while they salivate to these, like, dudes, doing this super operator shit. And, it was just a lot of them, like, stroking their own egos, talking shit about how terrible everybody is, talking shit about how the other team was completely subpar and how they fucked them up all over the field and how they were hosing people in the face that were driving by in technicals.
And then burnt them.
Yeah, driving, people driving by in technicals that they weren't supposed to be engaging and just talking as though there were people that had approached them and, they wish something would have been done and, you're just listening to it like, Jesus Christ, like, I mean, we talk shit and, like, we're like, if this would have happened, I don't think we ever, like, go that far or try to make ourselves sound like
we're not
better
badass
than we are, or, don't get me wrong, like, if somebody, we've had instances where, like, somebody's come up to me, and Joe stepped in the middle, to basically, keep a fight from occurring, because Joe's like, if these dudes are going to try to fight you, then there's going to be a fucking fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Ben's
the
probably
gear's
going to get
coming
involved.
off.
And, it will be a fucking fight. Like, we're not going to let somebody fucking punk us around if somebody's going to come at you like they're going to try to assault you. Like, we will fuck you up. Like, I'm not going to let somebody fucking beat my ass. But the thing is, I'm not saying that, like, oh, I wish this dude would have done something. Like, no, I had no intention of getting in a fight with anybody. I'm there to have fun. I'm there to play airsoft. Obviously, tempers flare, but I'm not going to, like, meet them, at their level of, douchebaggery. And, but at the same time, like, I'm not going to tuck my tail and be a little bitch if somebody comes up to me to fight or does attack me. Like, we're not going to stand for that. But it just seemed like, exactly, it just seemed like some of these guys are just kind of like, oh, I wish they would have, and, we're this and that, and, these guys are a bunch of fucking
we're from New York.
bitches.
We're tough.
Yeah,
New Yorker.
Not even from Brooklyn, but
you're not from the desert. You don't know.
So it's just like Centurion was saying with their video that they edited was that, hey, look, we fucking wasted an hour of our lives listening to this fucking podcast. Here's at least 8 minutes of this bullshit, and that's probably all you need to listen to, and realize that a lot of these guys are completely full of shit. I'm not saying that they're unskilled. I'm not saying that they. They may fucking be better than us.
They're probably pretty squared away and they've got their shit, tucked in and they're tight. But fuck, man,
right?
We are playing a game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, they might be, more physically fit and able to, complete a mission, faster than us. They might be able to do it faster than us, but I'm confident that we could probably accomplish the same shit they can.
Shit, we accomplish missions without
Right.
even knowing it.
Yeah, so with that said,
We got
you know,
dumb luck on our side.
yeah, fuck yeah,
Exactly.
man. Sometimes you need luck, and so, I think most people would acknowledge that these guys have that level of skill and can at least back up on the field what they say they can do, but at the same time, it's kind of like maybe you're overstroking your ego a little bit with kind of believing some of your bullshit. Like you are playing a fucking pretend sport, dress up with fucking toys.
And you're not
You're-
real military.
Yeah, you're not equal to any of these dudes that were fucking in the real military or ex special ops, because you can fucking be more operator on the fucking pretend field, and you can equate yourself to be better than some of these doughy LE guys, but these fucking LE dudes have like real experience under their fucking belt, as opposed to like, oh, you took all these civilian training courses. And I'm not gonna fucking shit on
They
you know,
earned that
civilian-
gut.
well, I'm not even gonna shit on like civilian training courses. There are some civilians that are actually so good at their ability to train people and are so proficient in firearms that they do actually train government employees and those kind of things. So you don't have to be involved with the military or federal government or even law enforcement in order to be exceptionally good with a firearm or other weapons. So I mean, they might be getting like that good training on the side, but don't fucking believe this bullshit that because you play this fucking airsoft game well and because you've taken some courses on the side that you could do the job of LE, or that you could fucking do the job of like some special forces guy. Like to me it's just fucking stupid. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I can go on all day with this. I mean, I'm sure you guys have like similar sentiment or at least a different take on what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean, like we said, they train, and these guys they've had a bad reputation, but they've also had a lot of followers because they've produced some really good videos, some really good, YouTube, very well known. And this is, I mean, lately you don't hear quite as much because I think the YouTube world within airsoft is kind of dominated by the so-called sponsored players and YouTube celebrities, and maybe we don't see as much as we used to. But there was a time when GMR did, and we say GMR, it's Green Mountain Rangers. They had a very strong YouTube presence, and there was a lot of they're very very well known and very very critically renowned. There was even in the early days before we started the podcast, I've always talked about some of the things that inspired our podcast, and there was Dead Rag. I think was it Dead Rag Radio? Dead Rag Radio actually, or was it Airsoft Radio? I think it was Dead Rag Radio. Did some interviews with GMR early on that were really good, and I listened. And they talked about going to Burgett, and I listened to that show probably 10 or 15 times just because I was almost jealous that somebody was so hardcore into airsoft that they dedicated this much time and money into their game. But at the same time, it is a game. Let's have fun, and let's not only have fun on the field, but how about off the field? Like when the reason why we like going to Lion Claws is we battle with our opponents. But you know what? Saturday night, okay, yeah, these aren't 48-hour games. We do break for dinner, and you know what? We hang out with these guys. We drink with them. We talk with them. We eat with them, and we have so much fun meeting and talking and hanging with the other guys, and that's part of our experience of airsoft.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point of being like that good or like being that well known if like you're hated by like so many people because you treat people with such disrespect and just talk down to people you don't feel are on your level or whatever the case may be. I mean, like, that's not fun. I mean, I think the whole purpose of playing airsoft, I mean, obviously, is to have fun. To me,
Sure.
It doesn't make sense to go to one of these games, not have fun, treat it like real life, treat everybody like garbage.
It's not about fun, it's about training, dude.
Right, yeah.
It's about training.
I'm not going to have fun. I'm going to treat it like it's fucking real life. I'm going to treat everybody on my team that's, not a fucking, special ops dude like me like shit. and I'm gonna treat all the other fucking enemies on the other team like they're fucking real enemies, and I'm not gonna break bread with them or fucking share words, share a conversation with them. Like I just don't get it. Like I know I'm generalizing a lot of this too. I mean, I'm not saying that some of this shit happened. You know what I'm saying? There were a lot of people that replied, in comments, to this video that, obviously weren't very happy with a lot of the shit that they talked about, and a lot of the shit that they pointed out, and a lot of the ego tripping that was going on in their videos. I think there was only like one person like in that whole fucking thread of people that commented, and that was actually not even so much defending GMR, but just kind of like calling out Centurion and calling out other people who were basically saying like, oh yeah, like they should get their asses beat. They're juvenile. They should get their asses kicked, or making these comments where this one person was like, well, aren't you guys fucking hypocrites because you guys are saying
the same thing?
Yeah, you're fucking condemning these
yeah.
guys for that, but then you guys are turning around and saying the same fucking thing. And so, I mean, the dude had a point, but at the same time, like, obviously you're not going to win any points with anybody, a fucking crowd of people that would agree that, these guys were being douches and, be defending a fucking group of people that everybody's, going to say was out of line. I don't think anybody's going to agree with you on that end. I mean, I would say that maybe it was a little hypocritical, but you know what? They made a good point. I mean, Centurion made a good point. They fucking, the thing is it's Bubba. Motherfucker calls people out. Like, he's not like, oh, they, maybe next time they'll be, no, he fucking called them out. And
oh, he called them.
He said what he had to say, and he doesn't want them back on their fucking
Ben read me one of the responses that Bubba had said, and we don't need to repeat that on the show, but it he wasn't too happy with those folks.
No.
And so, like, how long can they fucking play airsoft when they're fucking banned from Lion Claws? They're fucking banned from fucking Centurion. Like, who knows how? I mean, like, other people don't want them on the field because of their lack of respect for, like, military veterans. Like, at what point are they just going to have, like, an impossible time playing because nobody fucking wants them?
They'll have more
on the
time
field.
for training.
Yeah, I guess they can just train and stroke their penises with beard oil.
Stroke their plumage.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Anyway, so I guess that covers it. We'll move on.
Yeah.
The next thing is our main topic for the evening, and this is something that Jesse had come up with, and I'll let you cover the inspiration for this topic. But what's the minimum amount of gear you would recommend for a first timer who's renting a gun? A lot of airsoft fields, we're talking about recreational play. We're not talking about ops. We're not talking about milsim. But a lot of, most people's first experience is playing a recreational game of airsoft out at your local airsoft park or indoor field or whatever. And a lot of times people will buy their own gear before they play the first time. A lot of people will rent gear. Most fields have some kind of rental equipment available. And so what would you recommend on top of the basic rental gear? If a player's coming on, if you have a buddy who sounds like he's really interested in getting into the game, the field is going to provide you, for a fee, they're going to provide you with a gun, magazine, proper safety equipment, and whatever, dead rags or whatever other safety equipment that are required as well. So if a particular individual, a player, potential player, has already kind of said, you know what, this airsoft thing looks pretty cool, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get into it, but I want to rent a gun and play once first to see how I like it. What kind of gear would you recommend that they get before they even go out for their very first time for a player that you think is really made for this game? And so go ahead and cover your little story.
So the reason I brought this up was because there's a guy at my work. He knows Joe, and so he wanted to come out and give airsoft a try. So he was going to come out, and he was probably going to rent some of the equipment for his first try. And I thought to myself, what could I recommend, that he get when he comes out and gets the rental gear on top of that, because it seemed like he actually did want to play beyond just the trying the game out for the first time. And so my thought was, and this is what I told him, was that, hey, look, if you're going to come out and you actually do want to play more than just the one time, I would recommend that you get a battle belt and at least the single dump pouch. The reason being is because part of the rental equipment is going to cover your eye protection, your red rag. You're going to have your battery and obviously your gun, and the gun's going to come with a high cap. So my reason is because I don't know exactly how he's going to come dressed, but if he has a battle belt and a dump pouch, he could actually carry some extra BBs out on the field. And so depending on like how trigger happy he's getting, or what sort of scenario is being played that particular time, if he runs out of ammunition in his high cap, he can grab the extra BBs out of his dump pouch, reload, and get back in the game without having to say, hey, maybe you should get a chest rig and some and pouches and like an extra high cap or something like that. That's going to run like upwards of $60-$80 even for the cheap stuff. Huh?
And that's a bit of an investment just for your first game if you're not 100% sure.
Right, and a battle belt, it's like $20, and a dump pouch is about $15. Yep. Mm-hmm. And I mean, realistically, if you go out and shoot real steel or do something else, you could probably just throw a little battle belt on and use it to kind of carry stuff around, when you go out and shoot, or whatever the case may be. So it's handy either way.
Now the thing that I came up with was iPro. Now obviously most fields that rent equipment are definitely going to give you some kind of eye protection. Generally a paintball mask. That's what we provide, and I think probably 90% of the fields out there are probably going to give you a paintball mask. We give paintball masks that have thermal lenses, so they're very unlikely to fog up. However, if you're knowledgeable on real steel shooting, you may want something with a little bit better cheek weld that fits your face a little bit better. A lot of fields may not provide thermal lenses on their goggles, so you're going to have a situation with fogging. And also just the fact that there are certain people that just aren't interested in wearing the same face mask that some sweaty 300-pound dude wore 2 weeks ago. So yeah. Eye protection isn't a bad idea because depending on what you get, again, if you're really going to get into airsoft, and I tell my customers this all the time, you're probably going to go through 4, 5, 6 sets of iPro before you find what works for you. There's a lot of things we can recommend, but everybody's face is shaped differently. Some people sweat differently. Some people have different body chemistry. Some people breathe differently, and there's all these different things that will affect how you fog and how you deal with your eye protection. So trying out your first set of iPro may not be a bad idea the very first time you play, because you're going to go through a whole list of shit. I mean, how many of us in here have tried multiple pairs of eye protection over the years?
Yeah, I have. And to touch on that for a second, is a lot of times you're ordering multiple sets of different glasses, because they don't fit right or whatever, because a lot of people are ordering these things online, and when you're ordering these glasses online, you don't know exactly how they're going to fit. Like when me and Joe went to SHOT Show, there was a pair of glasses that I thought was fantastic, but when he tried to wear them, they wouldn't fucking fit. Like he had to have a whole different pair of glasses than me, because we don't have the same, obviously we don't have the same bone structure in our face, and so, for a pair of glasses, you almost want to go into a store and like put different glasses on your face, as opposed to like, oh, that fucking pair of glasses is cheap and looks cool, I'm gonna order that off of the fucking internet, because you might get it and be like, fuck, I'm stuck with this pair of glasses. And so you should go to your local store, or if you have the luxury of going to like a big fucking mega store, go to a big fucking mega store and put those glasses on your face, because that's one thing where you can't really guess on like
what Ben just said, they may not be what they advertise, because how much stuff is advertised as so-called anti-fog
Oh my god.
when
Or
there's no anti-fog properties whatsoever.
Anti-fog is like fucking lipo ready on guns.
Or even a shatter rating, or the Z8.
The ANSI rating.
Yeah, the ANSI rating. Like they might say that, and then you get them, and then there's no markings or anything, and you have no idea. They could break. The frames could break. The lenses could shatter. You never know. Like me, I get shit from work. I'm a welder, so they enforce rules and stuff for wearing spoggles and everything. So I get to try to find what pair of spoggles at work works for me out on the field because I sweat a lot.
He's all, these are OSHA rated, so
yeah,
these are totally good.
A little bit of freaking lens cream.
Well, I mean, your shit
keeps my single lenses from fogging up half the time.
Well, you know,
even though I have to do reapply every
Well, and the stuff that you use for work is full seal.
Yeah.
And it's thermal lensed, and it's the build quality is pretty good. I mean, it's not like shit that you get for work.
We get there's ones that I've been wearing that are single lens that are called Calico, and those work really good as long as I put some of the non-fog cream stuff on there and like let it set and then rub it out and make it nice and clear. But we had an I-Force. So they're kind of like
rub it out.
Yeah.
He's like rubbing. He's like, you gotta rub the cream.
I'm really good at that.
It.
But it's we have pairs that are called the I-Force, and they're like the Vulcan thermal lenses.
Yeah.
The double lenses, and they work for me. The sweat gets in there and screws up the lenses after a while. They're good for like maybe 1 or 2 outings, and then that's about it.
Well, and I was using some of the ones you were using too, and I actually had to cut like some ventilation holes in the full seal. But I cut them thin enough so that it wasn't like basically taking the whole point out of having full seal. But yeah, I had to do that.
But enough for the sweat to drain. Because when it's not fogging, you got the moisture buildup.
Right.
So either way.
What else besides eye protection and battle belt and dump bag? What do you think, Ben? You have anything else besides that you would recommend? I mean, there's certain things that are airsoft specific, but what about something that they could get that maybe they can use in their regular daily real world lives that may be useful in airsoft? Or maybe even just a piece of advice to maybe not so much even gear, but think about what getting prepared for the game.
Pick a color camo that you like.
Yeah.
Well, for me,
he wears his camo, so
I wear my fucking camo all the time. That's comfortable, and everything. So, pick a color camo you want, green, tan.
Well, I would say this. Let me add on to this.
It's not always fun coming out on the field wearing a hooded sweatshirt and freaking sweating your ass off with skinny jeans.
That is your standard.
And Converse or fucking Toms or whatever the fuck they wear.
Toms? Somebody playing airsoft in Toms. I don't know if I've seen that yet, but
they could have been.
I've definitely seen tennis shoes. I've definitely seen Converse. I don't know if I've seen the Toms on the airsoft field yet, but no. Actually, in relating to what you're saying, if you're coming out as a lone wolf, then yeah, absolutely, whatever color you want, and generally most fields go with some kind of green versus tan scenario, right? But if you're, and this is something I tell players all the time, if you've got a group of people, you've got 4 or 5 guys, and we're going to start an airsoft team, or even if you don't start an airsoft team, you just got buddies that you play with. How about this? Something as simple as even if you don't get the exact same camo, how about all at least go with a tan or desert-based camo versus a green or jungle-based camo? Your guys that you're going to go out there with, hey, we're going out for the first time. If you decide you want to get some kind of camo, why don't you all talk about it and say, or maybe say one guy has woodland, or one guy already, or a couple of guys. out of 5 guys that are into military stuff, a couple of them may have some woodland camo. Well, why don't if you guys are really wanting to get some camo, at least get some woodland or at least some other green-based stuff.
Or real tree.
Well, real tree.
Well, okay. I just say that because when I
hunt when you're not playing airsoft.
when I first started,
that's true.
When I first started, Joe asked me, he said, "Hey, you have woodland camo?" I'm like, I've got camouflage that looks like the woods. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, I do. He's like, all right, cool, wear that. I'm like, all right. I show up in Realtree.
You know,
it's like, I don't know.
Another.
I wasn't thinking about that kind of thing.
Another little
Well,
item.
let me cover real quick. My point was, if you wear the same base camo, you can be on the same team.
Yeah.
Right.
That was my point. You know, if green or tan base camos, if you're gonna go out there with a buddy, try to have maybe not the exact same camo, but at least go with green or tan, matching with your buddies.
Yeah.
There you go. That was my point.
Or if you're gonna run like a contractor thing, jeans and like a polo shirt or some shit like that, like, you know, try to, you know, like normal dress, you're gonna be on the tan team. You're not gonna be wearing greens, you know.
Well, you never know. It depends on balance.
Yeah, it depends.
So go ahead,
I'll
Jesse.
feel set up and
I'm
everything.
sorry, I interrupted you there.
Well, you know, another small item. Say, you know, they get a battle belt or they get a dump pouch or they decide not to go that route. They'd rather have a pair of glasses instead of, you know, having to accept the full mask. You know, in terms of like, you know, getting the rental, they want to wear a pair of glasses or something. Then I'd suggest, you know, getting a decent mouth guard.
Sure.
You know, like Joe and I think even Ben has a mouth guard. I use them all. I've used it ever since I got my tooth chipped. You know, I had to get it fixed. That sucked. You know, but
I've talked about that on the show a million times. I've definitely had some dental work done relating to airsoft.
And so, you know, they don't cost much. I mean, you can get a really good mouth guard for like $20, and you know, it's actually like saved my teeth a couple times. You know, even since I've got the mouth guard, I've been hit, you know, square in the mouth, and you know, had a bloody lip, but you know, it absorbed all the impact on my mouth guard. The thing is, though, is like the difference is between me and Joe is Joe, he has a mouth guard that basically covers his top row, and I use a mouth guard that actually covers top and bottom. And the way you can actually grit down, you can actually like, you know, bite down on the mouth guard, and you have the ability to breathe through vents that are cut into it.
Whoa,
so if I need
that's
to,
fancy.
yeah, so I can actually like run, you know, with that, you know, in my mouth and be able to breathe through my mouth adequately because it has those vents in it.
And that depends on the field too, because obviously if you're playing indoor CQB,
They'll require
you
masks.
probably have to have a full face mask, whether it be paintball or mesh or whatever. So, but obviously do some research, find out what your field requires before you make the investment into iPro, because maybe you might be better off just using their paintball mask because that's what they're going to require, and a really good anti-fog paintball mask, you know, is going to run $50 to $150.
And you know, so I mean, I guess with that, I mean, I guess those are a lot of the like smaller items you can get without making a big investment in terms of
Send
you know,
another voicemail.
coming out on the field for airsoft. You know, but Jerry, you brought up something with you know, what's the number one piece of advice or piece of advice that you can offer somebody that's stepping out on the field? And so since we're talking about like what little items you can get, you know, as far as like, you know, supplementing rental equipment, what would be your at least number one or even like top two pieces of advice that you would offer someone coming out on the field for the first time?
Advice, I would say, number one, hydrate. Number two, don't be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
When I say don't be afraid, it doesn't mean that you're like cowering in the corner and you're scared. And this is from somebody who runs games and sees this all the time. I see so many people that just hide in the back. These aren't real bullets, all right? We're not getting hit with an airsoft BB. Really doesn't hurt that much. Don't be afraid. Move, and it's all about the whole game is based on movement. If you can move, that's going to give you a huge advantage over a lot of the other players, that especially after overall the other first-time players.
That's like when we get shot out and we're walking back to the respawn and you see everybody at the very back building and they're like, I can't hit anybody. Well, move the fuck up, get in the game. I get shot. You got a couple of respawns.
I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I've have started to implement a rule: no hanging out at the respawn, because there's so many people that get shot and go and just hang out there. And we're not talking about a milsim game where you've been playing for 3 or 4 hours and you need to take a break. You know, I've set a respawn more than my allotted 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it was. According to the game rules, I've had to be there. You know, it's hot. It's a long day. Let me sit down and load my mags before I go back out.
Yeah.
But we're talking about 15-minute long games where there's guys hanging out and respawn, not because they're tired, because they're like afraid. And I just want to get people. And again, our listeners, this message isn't really going out to our listeners because maybe our listeners aren't that type of player. But if you've got a buddy who's thinking about getting into the game, have them listen to at least to this episode of the podcast, and it'll be a few tips for their first time that may help them out. But that's my thing. Is just don't be afraid to play. It's airsoft. These BBs don't kill you, and also
they might sting. They might make you bleed close range. But
take a look at what our real world heroes are doing and the shit they've got to deal with. If you want to play Army, and that's a term Army war, whatever. That's a term I've always had when I was a kid, playing Army in the yard, in the backyard, in the front yard, in the wherever, playing Army, playing war. Respect the people who do it for real, and just don't be afraid. Just go out and play. And if you get hit, you get hit, and call your fucking hits. How's that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, be respectful of those others, and if you really want to get into the game, don't develop a bad reputation as a cheater, because there's a lot of, if you want to get into this, there's a good chance there may be some established teams that are looking for somebody who's dedicated. And if you go out there your first time and don't follow the rules and are an asshole and let your temper rule your game, a lot of players, a lot of teams are going to shy away from that.
That brings up a good point. You go out there, once or twice, people are going to notice that new guy, especially people that have been out to the field, been going out there for years. They're going to immediately know who's new. And so, those people are going to, you probably don't think that because, there's a lot of people there, but you're going to start establishing a reputation the moment you go out there and start playing with these other people. And, obviously, that people talk, it's airsoft and people love drama. So, obviously if they think that, you're not following the rules, you're not calling your hits, you're, not showing integrity or at least respecting the other players enough to say, hey, look, you fucking got me, good shot. And give them the satisfaction of pulling your fucking red rag and letting them know that you were hit. You're basically ruining the game. And so if you're there just to shoot other people, but not to, actually accept the fact that you've been hit, then, you shouldn't play. And that also goes to when you do get hit, don't just raise your gun or turn around and walk away. I know a lot of fields are different, and it seems to me that even up north, there's some fields that just don't have a requirement for a red rag, which fucking amazes me. But use a red rag, and when you get shot, pull it out and wave it so that you can let the dude know that you are dead and that you're not just walking away.
And
because
it's a sign of respect too. Like, hey, dude, you got me. Plus it eliminates any confusion. Like you said, a player could just turn and walk away,
and then he gets shot again, and he's like, I'm fucking hit!
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're like, well, bitch, you didn't have a fucking red rag out,
when I get hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm yelling, and usually I'm getting overshot, so I'm screaming, and then I'm trying to pull my red rag, it's still screaming at him.
Yeah, so it's going to minimize the amount of extra times you get shot. It's going to, let that guy know that, he actually did get the kill, and that you're just not walking away cheating. Because you know what? You might not be cheating when you walk away because you accepted your hit, but they don't know that because you just walked away.
They think you're cheating because they don't see the red rag.
Right. So, that's a good point. I think mine would be that, not to kind of feed into some of the negativity that you see on the field with, maybe some other people that have been out on the field before, with just how angry some people can get, when they get shot, or just generally, maybe talking trash about, some individual that they believe, is or isn't calling their hits or something like that. Just play the game, try to have as much fun as you can, because when you get sucked into that vortex of negativity, it's going to perpetuate itself, and it's going to, kind of spread negativity throughout when, the rest of the team is also like, oh yeah, there are a bunch of cheaters and all that kind of thing. So I would say not to buy into that, and to add to that is even though these guns do have really great range, more range than they, used to back in the day, is that when you're shooting right at somebody, it may look like you're fucking hitting them dead on.
Yeah.
But from a side perspective,
I see that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, from a perspective when you're looking from the side at one person shooting at another, they're dropping well in front of the person that you're shooting at. But from your perspective, it looks like you might be hitting them dead on, and that's not the case. You're not fucking hitting them. You gotta scoot up.
As somebody who runs games, I see that all the time. I'm standing right next to a guy, and he's standing there, and people are shooting, and the BBs are dropping, 2 feet in front of them. Not they're not dropping 20 feet in front of them. They're dropping 2 feet in front of them, and I see the guy halfway across the field going, "Oh man, I got you! I put a whole mag into that guy, and he's dead." Not to say that people don't cheat, because they do, but sometimes just give the other player a benefit of the doubt. Just play, and if you really are that close, and you can literally see BB's bouncing off his chest, and he's not calling himself out, either let the game staff know or just move around him, do whatever you got to do. There's cheaters out there, absolutely. But as a game organizer, I can't tell you how many times I've had people accused of cheating when I was right next to them, and I know they weren't cheating. It's that simple.
Well, like you said, you can either, move on or tell game staff. Third option is you get closer and you fucking shoot them until they call it.
Yeah, sure, of course. Like John Lou says, when they get, if you have to get close enough to shoot them in the face and make them bleed, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's, and I think. This might be going slightly off topic with what we're talking about right now, but that's part of the reason you see a lot of people that use like HPA systems, and the reason that they use a high rate of fire in terms of like burp, because you're fucking shooting them like multiple times at once. When you get all those BBs in one spot, you're like, ha, hit, hit.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of reason why people fucking do that, because you're going to call your hits when you take fucking 6, 8 BBs in the fucking thigh from 40 feet, because by God, that is going to fucking leave a mark, and you are going to feel that, as opposed to, a couple of rounds when some dude's running full speed. I mean, because some people, they're running full speed from like one piece of cover to another, adrenaline's flowing, they got all this gear on. You take a couple of single shots, maybe they don't feel it, but if they fucking take a fucking like 30 RPS blast to the chest, they are going to fucking hear it and feel it.
I hate to say this, but when you're running, there's about a 70% chance you're not going to feel it.
Yeah.
Unless you
as an
see it
individual.
coming at you
Yeah.
exactly, then
Yeah. So, but I think that's why a lot of people use the high ROF guns, because it does cause people to call their hits. I mean, as much as people don't like to admit it, as much as I even hate people that use high ROF, I'd like to see more people that use. Let's say you're using a fucking M4, that you actually use something that's like closer to like what an M4 actually shoots at. I think that's more realistic.
Or just semi-only, which...
yeah.
Right. Or but it's just more reasonable if you want to shoot an auto that you'd shoot at like, 14 RPS or 16 RPS, but, like hovering around 25 and 30. To me, it's just crazy, but at the same time, like, I can see the argument where it makes people call their hits. So, again, I know it's a little off topic on what we're talking about, but, we kind of just want to elaborate on that point. Ben, did you have anything? Like, as far as, like...
I was gonna, but you...
Golden nuggets?
You stopped the topic.
Go ahead.
No.
Give us your golden nugget, Ben.
When it comes to that kind of thing, I have, like, low... I have low round mid caps. I got like 60 round mags, and I try to be conservative and not shoot full auto. I'm doing semi most of the time. My gun is not like up at 400 FPS. It's down like 325, somewhere around in there. But I have the range, so most of the time I know I might be hitting somebody, but they don't call it. So then that's when I go full auto. You gotta. Sometimes they might not say, "Oh yeah, you're actually hitting me." Might not think you're hitting them. So definitely you have to move up, try to freaking peg them in the face, get the job done.
So you're saying you intentionally shoot people in the face, Ben?
Well, if that's what they're sticking out around the corner.
Yeah.
most of the time that's what you see is their head poking out, and then there's a rifle. So you go for the most easy target there is.
So is there anything in addition to that you'd like to add? No, I'm pretty much good.
I'm good, man.
Just shoot good.
Just shoot good, move good.
Wear your real tree.
They're all think
Hell
good.
yeah.
Have good camo.
Think good. And when you get hit, yeah, you're gonna get pissed off, but it's good to call it. You're gonna be. I'm always pissed off when I get hit, but that just means that I know I did something
because
wrong.
Ben's just mad at himself.
I know I fucked up somewhere. So I know I gotta freaking try to do something different the next time I go back into it. So just be good, call your kids, be honorable.
True that.
Don't be a dumbass.
All right, so I think with that, I think we're done.
Oh shit.
Done for the evening.
Last beer anyways.
The last beer, yeah. I think we're down to our last beer. So, contact information if you want to get a hold of the show. Voicemail 661-846-2222. My face is full of pizza because Tammy just brought pizza in. Facebook / Gorilla Airsoft Radio. Email GorillaAirsoftRadio@gmail.com. Instagram Gorilla.airsoft. All your hits, use a dead rag, always use a gun bag, and support your local airsoft shop or there will be none.
None.
Goodbye.
Later. Bye.
Adios.
Cool. An actual informative show.
It happens. It happens sometimes.
You get those every once in a while.
Yeah.
A little over an hour. That's all I need.
Sup?
The toilet, you might have to manually flush the toilet from inside the bowl.
Alright.
Because the handle's not connected anymore.
Willie did that.
Willie did it?
Yeah, because he shit so much. He shits 15 times a day. I'm not kidding.
He does. I don't know if I know anybody.
They
I've
got
always
something
found
wrong
that-
with him or
that
something. He doesn't say.
People,
Doom, doom,
sober
doom, doom.
people who have gone through
Doom,
treatment
doom.
Yeah.
tend to have the most horrible shits I've ever known.
He does. He does.
Pizza.
He does.
It's like they drank so much that their whole intestinal system is fucked up,
Yeah.
and so they have horrible shits.
Well, his smelling down. He'd be sitting there eating and have to fucking stop eating. I threw my shit away that one day.
Thanks for listening. Say bye, Jerry.
Hi, Jerry.
Bye, Jerry.
Oh, damn. How I turn this off? Oh, man.